I'm Brianna Keeler, and we have some breaking news for you. The U.S. military is launching an investigation into the deadly ambush of 4 U.S. soldiers, including Green Berets, during an operation in the African nation of Niger near the border with Mali. While the president is facing backlash after falsely claiming his predecessors never called the families of fallen troops. The president made the remark while responding to a question about why he remained silent for 12 days on the deaths of these soldiers and hadn't reached out to the families of the 4. I want to bring in now Lieutenant Colonel Scott Mann. He's a retired Green Beret and now the CEO and founder of the nonprofit Mission America. He's also the author of Game Changers, Going Local to Defeat Violent Extremists. What do you have in terms of questions about what happened to these soldiers? Because there's so little that we know at this point.
Hey, Brianna, thanks for having me on. You know, I think as far as questions go, the investigation is going to bear a lot of that out. But, you know, these guys were special forces operating in a very at-risk country, doing what is frankly very dangerous work. The special forces mission of working with indigenous people to stand up on their own and push back against a group like ISIS in a place like Niger is just dangerous work. It's very austere and it's very remote. I think that's what we're going to find, is that these men were doing exactly what they needed to do to keep us safe in an at-risk country.
Why are we not hearing more about it from the government?
Well, I think the nature of this kind of work, you know, it's a bit different than a lot of the other special operations forces that are out there. It's not the direct action, nighttime strike kind of thing that seems to garner a lot of media attention. What this work is more long-term. It's more bottom-up kind of work, again, working with indigenous forces over a long period of time. And frankly, Brianna, it's usually in a very austere place, far away from any kind of natural support base. The country's been doing this for 50 years in places like Colombia, the Philippines, and it's frankly how we get in front of violent extremism in places where we can't afford to set up large footprints. So I think that's why we don't hear a lot about it, is because it's the nature of the work. It is quiet work.
And no, you make a very good point that I think especially movies popularize this idea that if you're a commando, you're kicking indoors. But a lot of these special operators are doing this work really at the community level. That said, do you think one of the reasons we haven't heard I guess answers to the questions about what happened is because there is a reticence of the government to talk about this quiet work, as you describe it, to really make clear to Americans just how widespread this quiet work is around the world?
You know, Brianna, I hope that's not the case. I mean, I make this point in my book, Game Changers, that, you know, we've been at this war for 16 years now, and if we think that these direct action raids are the only way we're going to defeat ISIS, I mean, we have another thing coming. We've had 3 presidential administrations now that have kind of glommed on to that approach, and we need it. I mean, it's amazing what those operators have done in Syria and Iraq to beat ISIS back. But if we don't build capacity in these at-risk areas like Libya and Niger, where these amazing operators were killed, then we're never going to get in front of the problem to allow locals to stand up on their own. That's what these guys are afraid of. That's what the bad guys are afraid of. Green Berets can punch above their weight with just a few guys. They can build big capacity. And I hope our politicians understand that this is absolutely essential for national defense over the long term in these rough places where we can't set up 100,000 troops in a base.
All right, Colonel Scott Mann, great insight, a retired Green Beret talking with us there. We do appreciate it. And moments ago, you may have heard Senator John McCain. He was firing back on President Trump's threat to, quote, be careful after McCain called Trump's worldview half-baked. We're back in a moment.
USAA to me means peace of mind. We had a power outage for 5 days total. We lost a lot of food. We actually filed a claim to USAA to replace that spoiled food.